So, really high level, when we say daily management system or DMS, it was many years before I actually realized we had one. And the only reason that we realized that we had one was because Nordstrom kept touring us. And after each tour, either Courtney or Jamie would say, "You guys have a DMS. Don't you know it's this, this, and this?" And so I would say that I didn't really understand that we had a DMS or a daily management system until quite recently. And so during COVID, we had the blessing of getting some outside help in our factory. So both Jamie and Ann were up here fairly frequently. And so what I'm going to share with you is, I would say, the shared learning that I have with hanging out with our friends at Nordstrom and other people around the world. So when we say daily management system, we think there's 4 essential elements, and we'll talk through all 4 of them a little bit. So there's the strategy piece. So at Kaas, it's my responsibility to not only declare who we want to be when we grow up as a company, but it's also my job to give some of the key guardrails for decision making. So those would be in the form of beliefs or policies or challenges that we give to the organization. So strategy is the most important thing, which is where are we going? Because if you don't know where you're going, you could be having a lot of meetings about nothing. So strategy. It's super important in my view that your strategy, our strategy, is very consistent in a direction. So it's pretty normal, and I've seen this in public companies and private companies, for that strategy to shift from north to south to east to west about every time a boss changes, or it to change every time the boss reads a new book. So our strategy has been about growing people for most of my lifetime by eliminating waste. We are getting better at saying, knowing, showing the truth is one of our values, improve every day, and give our best to our best. And so we kind of live and die by this idea that we want to shine light to our community, which is exactly why you are here today, hopefully, that we can be a blessing to you, and that somehow, some way, that you can turn what we know into something valuable for the people in your lives. So strategy is an important element so that we know where we're going. It's nice if it's consistent. A specific example that I've given as a challenge to the team currently is, please take the current time it takes to create value of any kind and cut it by 75%. So if we want to grow a leader to run a shop for us or an area, if it currently takes us 3 years, I want that to happen in 10 months. If it currently takes us 25 minutes to get data to answer a question, I want to get to the point where that takes us about 7. So strategy comes from when we say corner office, or in our case, we call it the 6. So DMS element number 1 is the strategy part. The next step, we'd say, is having a tiered huddle structure. And I think Jamie will share a little bit in a moment about what they've learned at Nordstrom. A tiered huddle is very simply, how do we create one-piece flow, like we would in the factory of 1-1-1, or like Toyota does when they build cars. How do we do that for information, for ideas, for project management? And one of the ways that we do that is by having a tiered huddle. So what that looks like at Kaas is, if you work in the wood shop, every morning you have a short huddle, and we talk about, hey, what help do you need? Is there anything you'd like to share with the team? And what are you doing today? Any appreciations? That's kind of the standard format. Help, share, appreciate, and what are you doing? After that meeting, the leaders of multiple departments get together and they have a discussion, and then I attend one at 7:30 every day. So at 7:30 to 7:55 every day, we have a tiered huddle, and it's end-to-end, meaning from the moment a customer has an idea to the moment that the customer has it delivered. Those are the things that we talk about. So, and then every day there's a daily walk that happens with the general manager and those with authority. So the whole idea is for us to know the truth, and these are the habits that we have, and we want to make sure that there's never a time where value creation is blocked. So that's what the huddle is for. So it's about communication, but it's applying one-piece flow thinking to information. So we don't build a master deck and say, here's our strategy, blah, blah, blah. This is the direction that we're going in today. What are we doing to move in that direction? And we want to make sure that the huddle is used to make sure that happens. So and that's very much about today. So the strategy is about day after tomorrow, and maybe tomorrow a little bit. The huddle is very much about today. So 2 elements of the daily management so far. strategy huddle. The third section for us is the visual management system. So if you ever go on a tour of the factory, and today we're choosing not to do that, you can stand in the middle of the factory, and with television screens you can see the status of any department. With your eyeballs you can see the status of every worker, every work group, the year to date. You can also observe, is there inventory or not? So the idea of human beings always knowing the truth so that they can move forward is the power of visual. So you also see this visual management is in the way that we try to communicate our ideas. So there are whiteboards everywhere. There's about 15 whiteboards behind me that are on wheels, so that I can make sure that we're creating content and that the people in the conversation are sure to understand what was going on. And those two tables around me where we're drawing on the table constantly. So visual management is a way, and this is all baked into science, meaning the science proves that human beings, once they see something, they get it. So any questions on so far strategy, tiered huddle, or visual management? We'll go with no. Okay, the last element, which is something we're not awesome at, but mainly because we didn't call some of the things we actually do, and this is leader standard work. So this is I won't say last element, but all together we call this the daily management. So it wasn't I didn't realize that I had leader standard work in place until I think reflecting with our friends at Nordstrom. So I do have actually content, sequence, timing, and outcome expected, which is the standard work for my day. So what I mean by that is when I wake up in the morning, I'm a pretty rotten guy. Like the minute I wake up, I'm already thinking bad things. So I start the morning watching a sunrise, looking for what I call the air show, the birds that fly at sunrise, reading the Bible, praying, and reflecting. So every day, if I don't do my time there, I behave horribly the rest of the day. So if I am to create value in the world, I start there with coffee, and I say coffee and Christ, that's the deal, just the truth. So I start there. After that, I want to do a little bit of my own creative time alone. So coffee, then creative, wherever my head is, I want to do a little reflection and be thinking about what is important to me today, what is somehow arrived in my brain. It usually is caused by something I learned the day before. The third step of my day is collaboration, and there's a schedule for this. I want to wake up, do my things, but then I want to have some time to reflect on what I've been thinking about. And I do that daily with Oz a lot of times, or with Jamie, or a few other people, where we just say, hey, what's on your head? What did you wake up with? A lot of times after sleeping, after a rotten day, there's something awesome that happens that next morning, and if I just take time to listen to it. And then the fourth thing is I jump into the call, which is the day part. And what I know about myself from a leader standard work perspective is today always wins, and I tend to get very hijacked on that call because today is a little bit stressful. You aren't calling and talking about here's all the awesome things happening, although sometimes we do. Very frequently these are the things that are, oh crap, that's going sideways, what's going to happen? So a lot of times I actually go for a walk during that call so that I can let my body have a little bit of air while I'm freaking out. So when we say daily management, that's a high level overview.